with your central article. I've seen the articles in England in the London Telegraph just a few weeks ago. Power prices set to double in the next 3 years. And so they can't get the carbon tax that's paid to the Rothschild/Rockefeller, Al Gore. I mean, they openly own it. Carbon exchanges, you go to them and pay them money. I'm burning coal. I'll pay you money, Al Gore. And he goes, good, my son. Your family is taken out of purgatory. I absolve you. Pay more money, and we will get you, the rest of your family, out of hell itself. Oh, thank you, Al Gore. Oh, great man, bear, pig. But now they've already had rolling blackouts, massive power increased cost. And now, in your article, you've got all these major power companies that aren't part of the insider group. You've got the Texas Power Commission, the Texas Public Utility Commission saying, get ready for huge blackouts and double the power prices. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram's reporting that, and this will be more of a blessing with General Electric, who's had a waiver since February, running around giggling and laughing in front of everyone, obviously increasing power output at their factories, at their generating systems. I mean, this is totally mafia. This is like saying you can only buy groceries from, you know, Obama's. Maybe they'll start a string of grocery stores. I guess they kind of have done that with NAFTA and GATT with Walmart. So finishing up, Paul Watson from England.
Well, precisely. I mean, GE gives Obama $500,000. They get the waiver. That's how it works. That's Chicago land for you.
But this is tens of billions of profit conservatively over the next few years for $500,000.
Well, precisely. I mean, it's over $100 billion just in the immediate cost that these power companies will have to pay. And as I said before, even if you believe that carbon dioxide and these other greenhouse gases that they're talking about are, you know, deadly killers, they're going to be emitted anyway. It's just the power companies are going to buy the carbon credits from Al Gore, the Rothschilds, and Obama, who is also invested in it, and they're going to pass the cost on to the consumers. That's why our bills are going up 20%.
But the Rothschilds have yachts and private jets that put out a special gas that counteracts the devil carbon dioxide. So you want to pray to them. Did you know that the Rothschild flatulence is actually the only gas humans live off of?
Well, precisely. And, you know, Ted Turner can have 5 kids, Rockefeller can have 6 kids, but overpopulation is a problem. We can't have any. The thing is, though, I mean, look at this. UK faces green agenda backlash as energy prices rise. For the moment, they're going up 20%. They'll go up more next year. But that's also the amount that they spend on so-called green energy. And this is the same in both countries. And it mainly goes on wind turbines, which are notoriously inefficient. In Northern Europe, when we get cold weather like we did last winter, you know, coldest winter in 100 years, they don't work. You have to get really powerful winds for them to work, and even then, they're so much more expensive to run. They always break, you know, birds are flying into them. You can't maintain them because they're out in these isolated locations. And all our money's being spent on this because they've got this commitment to generate 20% green energy.
I think it's wonderful.
The next 10 years.
I think it's totally reasonable that insiders get waivers from not having to buy health care on Obamacare, and that General Electric gets a waiver that they wrote. I mean, they wrote it to shut down their competition. I think that's fine. And I think Al-Qaeda taking over Libya is a wonderful thing. And again, I'm really ashamed that you're not for Al-Qaeda, Paul.
Well, I guess that, you know, as long as we do pay our carbon credits, at least the space aliens won't attack, because that's what the NASA scientists told us last week. Space aliens are concerned about global warming. If we don't line the pockets of Al Gore, the first carbon billionaire, you know, E.T. might come and get us. So,
by the way, Jaron, actually, when I talked about this yesterday, did post the Guardian article. A NASA-funded scientist, and this is the London Guardian headline, came out and said, pay Al Gore the money or the aliens are going to kill us. I mean, Paul, next they're going to say Freddy Krueger's coming if you don't pay man, bear, pig. And of course, I joked about the flatulence of the Rothschilds. They are now in Europe, and it's starting in the U.S. Canada already passed it, the cow flatulence tax. And so they're saying that cow's flatulence is going to kill the earth, even though the earth's always been covered with herbivores, bovine creatures. I mean, you know, they wiped out the tens of millions of buffalo and replaced it with a animal that can breed with it, another type of domesticated cow. I mean, it's insane. They say aliens are going to get us. Cow flatulence is evil. Pay Rothschild more money. I mean, you could not make up a joke this disgusting and this sick. They're paying a sheep flatulence tax in Australia now. And they're openly, the New York Times had the headline 3 years ago, a tax on breathing. They're not playing games. And there's all these weird goody two-shoes running around who, like, get off on hating themselves and they want to pay a tax for breathing. These are mentally ill people, Paul.
Well, yeah, save the planet, kill yourself. But these people are in power. John Holdren's in control of the geoengineering. And then you've got this Plandopolis agenda, which is what the big oil companies and the British government put out a couple of years ago, where they say, if you want to drive a car, you're going to have to apply for permission from the government. We're going to have a global food council. You're going to get meat as a rare delicacy, maybe once a month.
And incidentally, they've got trendies posing as patriots, liberal filmmakers making movies about the same plastic cities we're all going to have to go live in.
Yeah, and it's a throwback to Maoist China. Even as recently as the 80s, people who lived in China, poor people, meat was a rare delicacy, once a month treat. And in this Plandopolis, slaveopolis, the people who resist are going to be thrown in these cry freedom ghettos where they're segregated off from the rest of society. That's not my terminology. That's what they call them in their own video promoting this agenda. So people need to realize that these people are in control. They're insane, and they're holding the reins of power.
Well, they're insane like a fox. Their low-level minions are mentally ill and just like a moth to flame enjoy the control freak authoritarianism and believe that they're going to be part of it because they've given themselves to it. You know, that's your average general loser. But on top, they're cold-blooded. They say, how do we sell slavery and make folks love it? We teach people how to help themselves and then have a new green Nazism sold while they fly around in their private jets. Paul Watson will continue to track these articles as they unfold. The White House responded to us in February. Everybody needs to get this article out. Obama hit struggling Americans with energy rate hikes. Thank you so much, Paul Watson.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, Webster Tarpley, who bravely spent several weeks in Libya a little over a month ago and reported to us live under the peaceful kinetic military bombardment that's killed thousands and thousands of people. But I'm politically correct. It is peaceful and non-military because they said so. Now it's confirmed Al-Qaeda are the leaders. Headline, NATO hands terrorists who killed U.S. troops control over Libya. Al-Qaeda gets new home as rebels seize Tripoli. What is the stratagem here? What's the latest that Webster Tarpley has? He also reported to me that one of his colleagues, Dr. Franklin Lamb, shot in Tripoli by NATO Al-Qaeda peace activist. Webster Tarpley, tell us more about the peace that's reportedly killed thousands in the last 24 hours.
Well, what we're dealing with here is a carefully, cynically planned military operation by the NATO High Command, with the U.S. playing a very, very important role in it. Don't listen to anything to the contrary. It is called Operation Mermaid Dawn, and in the middle of that, you've also got something called Operation Mermaid or Operation Siren. Similar terms coming maybe from the French, but this is a military operation, and it's basically this. They're facing the mid-September deadline when the United Nations Security Council resolution runs out. And without that resolution, it's very hard for Italy and Canada and a bunch of smaller NATO countries to play a role. And since the main bases have to be in Italy because of the geography, there's a hysterical attempt in NATO to put an end to this. Now, what they've done is, first of all, carpet bombing. Instead of...
thought crime, love bombing.
Yeah, right. Carpet bombing of civilians, no concern for civilian casualties, just a mad dash to get it all over with. So very, very heavy bombing of Tripoli and of the approaches to Tripoli in the past week or so. And in addition, a very aggressive use of these Apache helicopters with a lot of strafing of civilians with machine guns, especially, and some rockets. And this is accounted for something upwards of 1,300 dead civilians in the past 48 hours, let's say. 1,300 dead as of yesterday, and then many more overnight. So this is the protection of civilians under the UN Security Council resolution. So carpet bombing, Apache helicopters, that accounts for the rapid progress the rebels. Now, the other thing that accounts for it is amphibious landings. All reports now agree that smaller landing craft as well as larger NATO warships cruised up very close to the coast there, to the port of Tripoli on the Mediterranean, and landed these death squads, these terror teams of Al-Qaeda killers who had been shipped in from Benghazi and Tobruk and Derna and places like this. So this, I think...
Webster's, look, we're pro-America here on this show, so don't criticize the valiant Al-Qaeda forces.
Right.
By the way, they're banning first responders from the 9/11 remembrance event. So the 9/11 responders are bad. Al-Qaeda's good. I'm going to have you apologize for talking bad about Al-Qaeda, or we're going to have to let you go.
Okay. So this, I think, accounts for this. It's what you call in warfare a coup de main. In other words, they've taken some key parts of the city. However, the reports I'm getting, and these come from Franklin Lamb that you mentioned, wounded though he is, he continues to report. Lizzie Phelan, who has been in the Rixos Hotel, and Darius Mahdi Nazem Rawaya. You can see a lot of this on Russia Today. They continued to report during the night, and especially Franklin Lamb is up in a high-rise hotel, and he can see the approaches coming into Tripoli from the west. So what we've got is reports of a counterattack being organized by the Gaddafi forces, starting from the Gaddafi compound, with heavy fighting going on there, tanks under Gaddafi and his supporters moving towards Green Square. We're even told that the rebels have lost control, at least temporarily, did lose control of Green Square when a column of Gaddafi forces went through there. The counterattack seems to be under the command of Khamis Gaddafi, Khamis. That's the one son who has not been captured. 3 other sons captured, 1 son killed months ago. The other thing we have is from Franklin Lamb, in his vantage point in this high-rise hotel. He says that he saw a convoy of 25 pro-Gaddafi military trucks going towards the center of the city. So this, I don't think, is over. And there's some indications that there was actually a strategy. I would say the Gaddafi forces were taken by surprise by the amphibious landings. This maybe accounts for why they didn't use their anti-ship missiles, which they are known to have.
By the way, my sources say U.S., NATO, and private contractors were inserted 2 days ago from the sea. It's probably not just the valiant Al-Qaeda people. Yes,
well, the report that I have, if you look at topple.net, I've got the report is that from Maison that the Al-Qaeda fighters from Benghazi that were landed by NATO were under the control of NATO officers, so European officers, which reproduces the eternal pattern of the colonial army, just what the Libyans had thought that they'd gotten rid of. So heavy fighting, I think, goes on. There is a humanitarian emergency. In particular, I would mention that the people in this Rixos hotel, the international reporters, these are international reporters who are basically anti-NATO. They don't agree with the CIA line. And that would be Mahdi Darius Nazem Rawaya that you can see on Russia Today. Franklin Lamb is in a different hotel, and Thierry Maison is also still in the city. I would also point out there seems to be danger to the life of Musa Ibrahim, who is the spokesperson of the regime, as well as his wife and his son. The rebels are telling people on YouTube that they're going to exact a terrible fate. Now you can.
Well, that's peace too, though. Killing women and children. You know, that's what the good guys do. Right. You're not going to criticize torture on this show, are you?
I think we can simply, if you want to start. Take a case study of the human rights record of these Benghazi rebels. See what happens to Musa Ibrahim and his family. That will tell you everything. Now, in terms of what's going to happen now, Gaddafi, if Gaddafi can maintain some kind of a position in the capital or nearby, that's a very different scenario from what the television is telling you. If Gaddafi is decisively defeated in the Tripoli area, he would probably be well advised to take the example of Mubarak and go to some friendly place and perhaps lay low for a while and wait for the inevitable civil war among these thieves, because these are thieves that are going to fall out. You can already see...
Oh, they've been constantly killing each other and calling in airstrikes on each other. That's admitted.
Exactly. So that would be this Khalifa Hifter. The top CIA guy is Khalifa Hifter, but of course he lived in Virginia. He lived here between the Pentagon and the CIA for 20 years, and there are going to be factional differences between him and, say, a bunch of guys like the ones who in Darna, who had been fighting the U.S. in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't see how they're going to get along very well. You've also got Jalil, who is the presentable face, and Jabril. These people have really no mass support.